Feels good to say it. We've got Broncos news to discuss. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown presented by Prize Picks. Hanging out with your guy Moose. Thanks for joining me today. Even more OTA news. We broke some of it down yesterday. We touched a little bit on Jalen Waddle. We broke down a little bit about the outside cornerback position. Now we've got to talk about more stuff like Jonah Elliss staying at outside linebacker. It does look like that will continue to be his primary position throughout the 2026 season and beyond. We'll touch a little bit on Courtland Sutton and what he had to say about Jalen Waddle and Davis Webb. And, of course, the RB room has taken flight. A little bit of a breakdown of what we saw in the early drills from the Broncos running back room. Now, if you want to stay up to date with everything that we've got going on here at the Broncos Breakdown and videos just like this one, you got to be subscribed, but you also have to hit the bell icon. The Noti gang is constantly growing, trying to get that up to 13%. So if you could hit that little bell icon, select the all option, you're going to get nonstop updates from the Broncos Breakdown. Let's start with Jonah Elliss because he seemed to be a pretty popular topic of discussion yesterday. Jonah Elliss is staying at outside linebacker and might flex inside on a couple of sub packages, but Sean Payton said he's just too damn good to move to inside linebacker for the majority of his snaps. And while I do believe that Jonah Elliss would have made a very good inside player, he did make his bread and butter, make his living, and got drafted by the Broncos because of his ability to be an outside edge player. Now, last year, not quite as much usage as I would have liked for Jonah Elliss. I think you'll see a little bit more carved out for him. Right, only 2.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. He only played in 13 games. If he plays in all 17, I think he can easily get over 5 sacks and maybe somewhere around 6.5 to 7 tackles for loss. But he is a really good special teams player. He's a very good rotational edge. There is no doubt in my mind that he will get more snaps this year. And even if he does kick in a little bit to inside linebacker, it's because they believe he can do that job. But I also think that this means two things from Sean Payton. And the first thing is that, yes, Jonah Elliss is very, very good on the outside. But it also means that there is more development than we thought with the new guys at inside linebacker, which is great. You want to know that the players that you drafted or that you signed as undrafted free agents are pulling their own weight. And they certainly seem to be doing so. Like Red Murdock, like Terry and York, like Dasan McCullough. So all three of these players not only have a chance to make the 53, but a couple of them have a pretty good chance to carve out some relevant playing time in their first year. And Luka Evans just gave us a nice little excerpt from what he saw, telling us exactly what we wanted to hear. Red Murdock looked great, never saw him out of place. He called himself in the linebacker position the quarterback of the defense. Now, that wasn't a gloating thing. He was really saying, like, I pride myself on having the mind to kind of command the middle of the field. And then also Terry and York drew up some hurrahs in pass coverage, something that he's very good at. So both of those players seem to have a very, very extended role, not only right now in OTAs, but could as we move along forward throughout training camp in the offseason. But Red Murdock seems to be the one that you guys know that I'm the highest on. I mean, last year, 142 total tackles, 13.5 for loss, 5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. He's going to be outstanding, right? And funny enough, his name is Khalil, and another awesome player in the NFL graduated from Buffalo, and that was Khalil Mack. So maybe we're getting our own version of that. I don't know. The linebacker room is going to look much better. You can rest assured with that, regardless if they bring in a veteran at some point or if they don't. It will look better than it did last year. And that was one of the problem areas. I don't even know if you want to say that was, it wasn't a major issue, but it was certainly something the Broncos needed to get better at because while Alex Singleton was holding his own, Dre Greenlaw's injury was a big problem. And Justin Stranad is a good rotational linebacker. Is he good enough to start? Maybe week 1, but I think we need to see a lot more rotational packages for the likes of Red Murdock and Terry and York. Now, Before we move on to Courtland Sutton and we start talking about the offensive side of the football, I do have to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. The NBA Finals Game 2 is up tonight, so you know I'm already making a lineup. And look, if you want to win real cash while watching sports, whether it is basketball, whether it's golf, hockey, football, baseball, you got to download the Prize Picks app because you can win up to 2,000 times your cash while playing. Now, interestingly enough, we decided to make a couple of lineups for you guys. I went back to the very stereotypical player picks. $20 to pay out $250. You pick the player, the more or the less on their stat projections, and then you watch your money multiply. It is that easy. And spoiler alert, got a brand new feature for you. OG Flex Friday is officially back. And here's the cool thing about this. You can play a protected $5 lineup and you win or get your losses back in bonus lineups. So do yourself a favor today on a Friday. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, moving on to Courtland Sutton and the offense. Now, Courtland Sutton is a player that last year had some really good moments and he had some not so good moments. The drops were definitely a concern last year, but Courtland Sutton is a team leader on this Broncos team. There's no doubt about it. And Courtland Sutton was very outspoken yesterday about a couple of things. First of all, Davis Webb called him a mad scientist, not just once, but multiple times. So everybody on this offense has all said the exact same thing, how smart Davis Webb is. Quinn Miners said it. Garrett Bowles said it. Courtland Sutton is now saying it. Sean Payton has said it. It's clear that Davis Webb is the right guy for the job to call plays for this team. Now, he was asked about Waddle, obviously. He should have been because this is the first time that we've got to hear from his perspective what it's like having Waddle on the team. And one of the questions that was asked was, how do you feel about sacrificing some of your targets to feed Jalen Waddle? And he gave the perfect response. I want to win games. So he is okay and comfortable sacrificing some of those targets to give them to Jalen Waddle if it means the Broncos are going to make the Super Bowl. In fact, here was the full quote that he said. I don't think we have any individual personalities that are saying, hey, I need this, I need that. I think we've got a bunch of guys that are willing to put their pride aside to do what's best for the team. He is a great team leader. He always has been. Courtland Sutton will be forever a Bronco. I don't want to trade him. He needs to get and finish off his season or career, with the Denver Broncos. And even if that means in the next couple of seasons he takes a back seat to Jalen Waddle, that's okay. That's part of the aging process. That's part of getting to a certain point where you recognize I'm not the same player that I once was. And I don't even think he's reached that point yet. Look, last year was great. He had 7 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, almost 14 yards a catch. The drops were the only concern. And yes, the drops were bad. So I don't even want to say it was an amazing season. It could have been way better. But I still think that there is a possibility in a real-world scenario where both Jalen Waddle and Courtland Sutton have 1,000-yard seasons next year. But the advanced stats last year, I can prove why it wasn't nearly as bad. He was, Courtland Sutton, a 35.5% target share for the Denver Broncos, which, by the way, ranks 9th amongst all qualifying wide receivers for their respective teams. He also had 12.6 yards per target, or average target air yards, My apologies. Average target air yards was 22nd amongst qualifying wide receivers in the National Football League. This was the only bad stat right here, his catch percentage, which was 59.6, which was a career low for him. So my question to you is, how many receiving yards will Courtland Sutton have in 2026, over or under 800, as I try to adjust my microphone cord back there. My apologies. I think it's over 800. I don't think it'll be over 900. I think he'll end up somewhere between 800 and 900 yards this year. That's just my opinion, though. Let me know in the comment section down below. All right, last bit of news here. Let's talk the running backs. J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, Jonah Coleman. They were all captured doing the exact same drill, and this was like a foot quickness drill, showing off the shiftiness. And I took away three major things from watching these three. The first thing was J.K. Dobbins is easily the most effortless and smoothest running back the Broncos have. He's also the most talented running back the Broncos have currently on the roster. R.J. Harvey is easily the quickest feet. There's no doubt he's the shiftiest out of all three, but Jonah Coleman looked like the most built and the strongest out of all the three. Now, hard to say because you're not really absorbing any contact right now while you're working out in shorts and t-shirts, but I still think this is exactly what you need. It is. That's why you drafted Jonah Coleman. One of the main reasons that he was drafted was because in the event that J.K. Dobbins goes down this year at any point, you still need someone that can get between the tackles and continue to move the chains forward. As much as I love what R.J. Harvey did last year, he scored 12 times, awesome in space, he's not quite that back, right? He's open space, Alvin Kamara style. Whereas Jonah Coleman, J.K. Dobbins are going to be kind of shifty in their own right, but also strong enough to go between the A gap, B gap, and C gap and succeed at that next level. So all of those things, to me, equal a three-headed monster and a complete running back room. And it's not like R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins were a bad combo last year. They both rushed for over 1,200 yards. Actually, if I'm doing the math correctly, it's over 1,300 yards and combined for 11 rushing touchdowns. So these are good numbers. It just wasn't nearly as effective with R.J. Harvey leading the backfield last year. I think that's where Broncos fans, some of you, get confused, is that everybody says, oh, our running attack was not good last year. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't as efficient or as powerful as it could have been because J.K. Dobbins was out. And I can prove this to you. Look at how many times that our running backs were attacked in the box. 8 defenders deep in the box. J.K. Dobbins faced a stacked box 36.6% of the time. That's third most in the league. R.J. Harvey was sixth most in the league at 32.8%. Compared to a guy like Derrick Henry, who everybody knows you have to play one way because he is so strong and so powerful, he was second most in the league. So the Broncos, they had one game plan against them. Teams were like, we are going to shut down the run because we know you can't do it. They were playing you all the exact same way. They were like, we're not going to even allow you to have that element of your game. You're going to have to throw the ball on us, which is why Bo Nix led the league in passing attempts last year. It's going to look different because you have now a full and complete running back room. All right, that's all I got for you on today's episode. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit that thumbs up icon, Broncos Country. And as always, happy Friday. We'll be live a little bit later. Mile high salute. Be cool.